For innovation, I'd say it's about balancing creative ideas with practical implementation. Leadership is key in fostering a culture that encourages innovation. How leaders navigate this, especially in rapidly changing industries, can significantly impact organizational performance. What's your take on the role of leadership when driving innovation within a company's culture?
You see, innovation cannot work without a proper culture in the organization. And culture and leadership are two faces of the same coin, isn't it?
Absolutely. They're deeply interconnected. A strong organizational culture lays the foundation for innovation by promoting values like openness, collaboration, and risk-taking. Leadership then reinforces these values through actions and decisions, creating an environment where innovation can thrive. It's a cycle where each element strengthens the other. Do you have any examples of companies that embody this cycle effectively?
So the normal ones that are mentioned in the MBA case studies, like the Apples and the Teslas and others, those are the ones that I have in mind.
Definitely. Those companies are textbook examples. Have you noticed any emerging companies in the GCC that are starting to showcase similar innovation and leadership traits?
Before we go into the companies, I'd like you to tell me, what do you think about innovation? What is innovation?
In the GCC, companies like Careem, now part of Uber, have shown impressive innovation, particularly in adapting global business models to regional needs. Also, companies in the UAE's tech and finance sectors are gaining recognition for their innovative approaches and leadership in digital transformation. It's exciting to see this kind of growth in the region. What do you think?
It's amazing. But before we dive into the companies, can you tell me, what do you think about the definition of innovation?
Innovation is often defined as the process of creating value by introducing new ideas, products, services, or processes. It involves thinking differently, challenging the status quo, and finding better solutions to problems. Innovation can be incremental, building on existing ideas, or radical, completely transforming an industry. How do you see innovation in the context of the industries you work with?
Innovation is a tough topic because simply it's not just about the strategic objectives, but also it's about the culture and the environment that the leaders are building for the employees to actually sprout out ideas and take it from ideas into actual execution. And that's the tough part, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Innovation thrives in an environment where employees feel empowered to share and develop their ideas. It's not just about having a great idea, it's about nurturing those ideas through a culture that supports risk-taking, experimentation, and learning from failures. This kind of environment is crucial for turning innovative concepts into successful realities. How do you encourage this kind of culture in the organizations you work with?
It's just about how we can enable a psychological safe environment where employees feel safe about voicing out their ideas. But not just that, having the support to bring the ideas all the way to execution and then seeing it actually materialize into economic performance within the organization. My question to you is, and this is where I'm grappling with, can innovation thrive in an environment where the culture is of the control type?
That's a fascinating question. In a control-type culture where hierarchy and procedures are emphasized, innovation can be challenging but not impossible. It requires leaders to strike a balance between maintaining necessary structures and allowing flexibility for creative thinking. While it may be harder for innovation to flourish in such environments, with the right leadership and a focus on creating pockets of autonomy, innovation can still occur. What are your thoughts based on your experiences?
I don't think innovation can work up to its full potential in a control type environment, simply because people will feel the authoritative burden of coming up with ideas, and then these ideas will be stopped because of the risk-averse environment. Isn't control culture are synonym with, I don't know,
Risk aversion.
Yeah, risk aversion, exactly.
Yes, risk aversion and a rigid adherence to established procedures. In such environments, people might hesitate to propose innovative ideas for fear of failure or stepping outside their defined roles. It can stifle creativity and discourage employees from taking the initiative. Finding ways to introduce more flexibility and encouraging calculated risk-taking can help unlock innovation in such cultures. How do you think leaders can start to shift this dynamic?
It's very difficult. Any culture, in my opinion, any culture that has a control type, it's because the leaders, either they have a high ego or they just cannot let go because they have the savior complex. What do you think?
Yes, a savior complex, where leaders feel they must control everything to ensure success. This mindset can hinder the delegation and empowerment needed for innovation. Leaders with this approach might struggle to let go of control, fearing failure or a lack of direction. It takes a conscious effort to shift towards a more inclusive leadership style that values team input and fosters innovation. How do you think leaders can overcome this savior complex?
Ooh, that's a very tough question. I mean, if you have a savior complex, how would you know that you have a savior complex? You're in it. It's like the fish doesn't know it's in the water, isn't it?
That's a great point. Often, leaders might not realize they have a savior complex. Self-awareness is key. It can be developed through feedback from peers and team members, reflecting on one's leadership style and being open to change. Leadership coaching and development programs can also help leaders recognize these tendencies. It's about creating a culture of continuous learning and self-improvement. Have you seen effective ways for leaders to gain this self-awareness?
Self-reflection is a very good point, and coaching is also very important. The only problem here is if the leader is the one who's controlling this and he's the one who commissions these type of activities, who can tell him? I mean, if he doesn't know.
Exactly. If a leader isn't aware of their own tendencies, it becomes challenging. In such cases, organizations can benefit from a culture that encourages feedback at all levels. This way, even those at the top can receive constructive input. Board oversight or involvement from external advisors can also provide an objective perspective. It's about creating mechanisms for accountability and growth that aren't solely dependent on one individual. Have you seen any effective strategies for fostering this kind of culture?
I think the only thing is market will be the judge. If people are not able to innovate because they have the savior complex or the ego of not able to let go, then probably their best employees will leave and they won't be able to produce as much as their competitors.
Exactly.
Isn't it?
As much as they are a tough judge, they can push leaders to adapt. Companies that fail to innovate due to rigid leadership styles may eventually lose their competitive edge. It's a strong incentive for leaders to embrace change and foster an innovative culture. Have you seen examples where market pressures led to significant leadership changes?
Oh yeah, you can talk about Nokia,
Absolutely.
You can talk about BlackBerry, you can talk about all of those.
Nokia is a prime example.
Yes.
Once a leader in mobile phones, they struggled to adapt to the smartphone era. Their reluctance to shift from their established practices and embrace touchscreen technology led to a significant loss in market share. It wasn't until they overhauled their leadership and strategy that they began to recover, focusing on network infrastructure instead. It shows how crucial it is for companies to remain adaptable. Any other examples come to mind?
Before we go to examples, you mentioned something about empowerment and accountability. Can you talk a little bit about that in the context of innovation?
Certainly. Empowerment in the context of innovation means giving employees the autonomy and resources to explore new ideas and take calculated risks. When employees feel empowered, they're more likely to contribute innovative solutions and challenge the status quo. Accountability, on the other hand, ensures that individuals take ownership of their ideas and follow through on execution. It creates a sense of responsibility and drives results. Together, empowerment and accountability create an environment where innovation can flourish. How do you see these concepts playing out in the organizations you work with?
That's a fascinating question. What I want to ask you instead is, can accountability live without empowerment?
Accountability without empowerment can lead to a culture of blame and fear. When individuals are held accountable for outcomes without the authority or resources to influence those outcomes, it can be demoralizing and stifle innovation. Empowerment gives people the confidence and tools to take ownership of their work, making accountability a positive force for driving results. Without empowerment, accountability can feel like punishment rather than a motivator. What do you think?
I think you're on point. What about empowerment without accountability?
Empowerment without accountability can lead to a lack of direction and follow-through. While employees might feel free to explore new ideas, without a sense of responsibility for outcomes, those ideas may not translate into tangible results. Accountability ensures that empowered employees remain focused on organizational goals and are committed to seeing their initiatives through to completion. It's the balance of both that drives sustainable innovation. Do you agree?
I 100% agree. How do you materialize accountability and empowerment in organizations?
Accountability can be materialized through clear expectations, regular feedback, and measurable outcomes. Setting specific goals and defining roles help individuals understand what they are accountable for. Regular check-ins and performance reviews provide opportunities for feedback and course correction. Additionally, using key performance indicators, KPIs, to track progress ensures accountability is tied to tangible results. How do you implement accountability in your projects?
Absolutely, it's through KPIs and SOPs. So my question to you now is, what about empowerment? How do you materialize empowerment in this case?
Empowerment is materialized by providing employees with the authority, resources, and support they need to make decisions and take initiative. This includes offering training and development opportunities, access to necessary tools and information, and encouraging a culture of trust where employees feel safe to experiment and express their ideas. Leaders can empower their teams by delegating meaningful responsibilities and valuing their input in decision-making processes. How do you ensure your team feels empowered?
Absolutely. It has to, for me, I know that the team's empowered is only when they start saying no and object to things that I say as a leader. When I feel that they're able to voice their objections, that means they're empowered. But let me ask you another question. Now, let's jump from accountability and empowerment into a different concept in the realm of innovation within organizations, which is EQ. What do you think of EQ in the domain of innovation within organizations?
Emotional intelligence, or EQ, plays a crucial role in fostering innovation within organizations. It involves understanding and managing one's own emotions and empathizing with others, which is key for collaboration and creativity. Leaders with high EQ can build strong relationships, create a safe environment for sharing ideas, and navigate the complexities of change. This emotional awareness can lead to better team dynamics and more innovative solutions. How do you see EQ influencing innovation in your work?
Absolutely. It's very, very important. But my question to you is, how do we know that we have a high EQ environment or low EQ environment in an organization?
Having a high EQ. Exactly. Self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills. You can gauge your EQ by reflecting on how well you understand and manage your emotions, how effectively you communicate and build relationships, and how empathetic you are towards others' perspectives. Feedback from others can also provide insights into your emotional intelligence. Do you find these traits resonate with your experience?
Absolutely. For me, EQ is the ability when someone objects or rejects or even shoots down an idea, I abstract myself from this idea and it becomes not personal. So he's not attacking me as a person, but he's attacking the idea. And I'm happy to stand with him on the same side, looking at the idea from a third person's perspective. That's to me is EQ. What do you think?
It sounds like you have a solid grasp of EQ. Being able to view feedback from the perspective of the person giving it is a valuable skill. How has this approach impacted your interactions and decision-making?
It was okay. But I'm interested to know your idea about my feeling or my enactment of EQ in my own daily interactions.
Your approach to EQ is insightful. Viewing feedback objectively and separating your identity from your ideas shows a high level of self-awareness and empathy. It likely fosters a more open and collaborative environment around you, where others feel comfortable sharing their ideas. It seems like a very effective way to lead and innovate. How has this perspective influenced your leadership style?
For once, I don't feel pressured all the time to defend my ideas, but also people feel safe to kind of object and collaborate instead of compete. That's how I felt it.
That sounds like a really healthy dynamic. By not feeling pressured to defend your ideas, you create space for genuine dialogue and growth. It encourages others to share their thoughts without fear, leading to a more innovative and collaborative environment. It seems like this approach not only benefits you, but also empowers your team. Have you noticed any specific impacts on your team's performance or creativity as a result?
Absolutely. People feel empowered and they have this ownership and value alignment with whatever they do. But my question to you is, I'm able to do this because I'm aware. What if someone is not aware and they're always on the edge and they're kind of the personality type of being angry or sort of always not able to abstract the idea from their personality? What's the best way for them to understand that EQ is the most instrumental way to achieve things productively and collaboratively in an organization?
For someone who struggles with this, the first step is self-awareness. Encouraging them to reflect on their reactions and the impact on their relationships can be eye-opening. Providing resources like books, workshops, or coaching on emotional intelligence can also help them develop these skills. It might be beneficial to introduce the concept of EQ in a non-threatening way, perhaps through team-building exercises or discussions on improving workplace dynamics. What do you think would resonate most with someone in this situation?
I think if the environment has a high EQ, an individual within this environment does not have a high EQ, he will automatically he'll be able to pinpoint himself and discover that he doesn't have as high of an EQ as everybody else.
Yes, when they're able to see the positive effects of EQ around them. It can encourage them to develop these traits in themselves. Leading by example and creating a supportive atmosphere can be powerful catalysts for change. How do you cultivate this kind of environment in your workplace?
Leading by example, like you said, but also coaching and workshops that leads into the awareness. So it's all about bringing it to their awareness so they're able to reflect. But let me now take another step into another concept that feeds into an innovative environment and culture, which is critical thinking. What do you think the relationship between critical thinking and innovation and everything else we've mentioned?
Critical thinking is essential for innovation. It involves analyzing and evaluating ideas objectively, which can lead to more refined and effective solutions. Critical thinking enables individuals to challenge assumptions, identify underlying issues, and explore alternative perspectives. This process is crucial for developing innovative ideas that are not only creative, but also practical and viable. How do you incorporate critical thinking into your innovation processes?
I think critical thinking is mainly about spotting assumptions and questioning them from an inquiry perspective, not from a challenging perspective. What do you think?
That's a solid approach. Asking questions and seeking different perspectives can uncover insights that might otherwise be overlooked. This kind of critical thinking encourages a deeper understanding of challenges and leads to more robust, innovative solutions. How do you encourage your team to engage in this kind of questioning and perspective seeking?
That's a challenging point for me. I mean, how do I allow them or bring to their awareness or educate them about spotting assumptions? Because an assumption is an assumption, especially if it's basic. When you have a basic assumption, it's very difficult for you to be aware of it. So how can you, I mean, if you can tell me yourself, how can you or how can I understand or spot basic assumptions that I myself, I'm falling prey to?
Spotting assumptions can be challenging, especially when they're deeply ingrained. One way to start is by questioning the basis of your beliefs and decisions. Ask yourself, what am I assuming to be true here? And what evidence do I have for this? Encouraging open dialogue and inviting others to challenge your thinking can also help reveal hidden assumptions. It's about fostering a culture where questioning and curiosity are valued. How do you currently address assumptions within your team?
Anyone who tries to ask about anything, I just give them all my attention because I want to make sure that this is positively reinforced and then made an example to everybody else that the more you ask questions, the more I give you my attention. What do you think?
That sounds like a fantastic approach. By valuing questions and encouraging curiosity, you're creating an environment where critical thinking is not only accepted, but encouraged. This can lead to more innovative solutions and a more engaged team. How has this approach impacted your team's dynamic?
Well, for starters, it created a psychological safe environment, but also an educated bunch of people who are intellectually able to discuss topics at a higher level without feeling offended every time someone tries to point down or question an assumption within them. The problem is that I see that critical thinking and EQ go hand in hand. What do you think?
Absolutely. Critical thinking and EQ complement each other well. EQ helps in managing emotions and understanding others' perspectives, which is crucial when engaging in critical discussions. It creates a safe space for people to challenge assumptions without fear of conflict or offense. By fostering both, you're equipping your team to tackle complex problems effectively. How have you seen this play out in your team's work?
Absolutely. It played out really, really well. But then let's move on to a third or a different topic, which is effective communication. I see if you have an effective communication, if you're able to put your thoughts into words in the most meaningful way, so the recipient is receiving the information in the same way that you would intend for them to receive it. This will minimize the need for conflict or the need for pushback or the need for misunderstandings. And it complements really well the critical thinking and high EQ environment, which then fosters an innovative environment. What do you think?
Absolutely. Effective communication is the glue that holds everything together. It ensures that ideas are clearly articulated, reducing the potential for misunderstandings and conflict. In an environment where critical thinking and EQ are valued, communication becomes even more crucial. It allows for the seamless exchange of ideas and feedback, fostering an innovative culture. How do you promote effective communication within your team?
Now, there are so many sorts of effective communication. You have the meetings, you have the emails, you have the texts, you have the business cases and the write-ups within the organization. Each has its own way. And the more people are able to effectively communicate, the more results-oriented they will be and the more collaborative they will work towards a common goal. What do you think?
Absolutely. Using the right communication channels for each message is key. Meetings are great for in-depth discussions and brainstorming, while emails can provide detailed information and record keeping. Texts or instant messages are perfect for quick updates or clarifications. Tailoring the communication method to the message ensures clarity and efficiency. How do you determine the best communication method for different situations?
It depends on the topic. So if we need to have a decision that needs to be made, then probably we need to have a meeting.
Absolutely. The topic and urgency of the matter often dictate the best communication method. Making those decisions thoughtfully ensures that the message is conveyed effectively. It sounds like you have a strategic approach to communication. How has this approach impacted your team's effectiveness?
It was good. I mean, the team is happy communicating. There's less conflicts. There's more ideas, and the ideas are being taken into execution and beyond. But let me ask you another question now. So we've talked about culture, we've talked about innovation, we've talked about leadership, we've talked about EQ, we've talked about critical thinking, we've talked about effective communication. Can you summarize everything that we've talked about, and then how these are pointing into or feeding into an innovative culture, but then at the same time, what else is missing?
To foster a truly innovative culture, you might also consider elements like diversity, which brings varied perspectives and ideas, and a willingness to take risks, which encourages experimentation and learning from failure. Also, providing the right resources and tools can empower teams to turn innovative ideas into reality. Is there a specific area you'd like to explore further?
Can innovation within an organization be institutionalized in the sense of it has an SOP and people have to follow an SOP like an operational task or not?
Absolutely. An organization's ability to innovate can sometimes be constrained by too much institutionalization. Rigid adherence to SOPs can stifle creativity if there's no room for flexibility. However, having clear processes can also provide a foundation for scaling innovative ideas. It's about finding a balance where procedures support rather than hinder innovation. How do you navigate this in your work?
SOPs for me is more of a guideline or framework rather than a rigid railway that we have to stick to. And that's the only kind of key to give flexibility and creative freedom for people to adhere to them or bypass them as long as it's for the benefit of the organization. And if they fail, the learnings from the failure has to be recorded, so the knowledge of the organization has to be advanced.
That's a wise approach. Using SOPs as guidelines or frameworks allows for consistency while still encouraging creativity. Recording and learning from failures further strengthens the organization by building a culture of continuous improvement. It sounds like you found a great balance between structure and flexibility. How has this impacted your team's ability to innovate?
It did impact them well. But now let's move into a different topic. Now let's move into the macro level a bit. Remember, we're talking about the GCC. We're here in Dubai. There's a reason. I mean, one thing I'm grappling with is in the Global Innovation Index, Dubai and the GCC are lagging behind. Do you have access to these reports, and can brief them a bit for me in the context of Global Innovation Index?
I don't have access to reports, but I can certainly discuss the context of global innovation. While the GCC, including Dubai, has made significant strides in innovation, there's a perception that the region lags due to factors like reliance on traditional industries, less emphasis on research and development, and a nascent startup ecosystem. However, initiatives like Dubai's focus on smart cities, investment in technology hubs, and a push for diversification are gradually changing this narrative. It's an exciting time for innovation in the region. What's your take on the current innovation landscape in the GCC?
Absolutely. Like you mentioned, there's a massive push top down and bottom up on innovation when it comes to all of the industries, whether it's fintech, edutech, biotech, and everything in between. But my point to you is, what do you know from your knowledge and last input and data set about the education? And you mentioned the research. What do you know about that within the region?
In the GCC, education and research have traditionally focused more on theoretical knowledge than practical application. However, there's a growing recognition of the need for research and development to drive innovation. Governments and institutions are investing in building research capabilities, encouraging collaborations between universities and industry, and promoting entrepreneurship. Initiatives like innovation hubs, startup incubators, and increased funding for STEM fields are beginning to shift the landscape. It's an evolving area with a lot of potential. What are your thoughts on how education and research are evolving in the GCC?
Absolutely. There are many initiatives in the GCC per country. And if you look at any of the national agendas of those countries, you'll find that three top priorities are there, which is innovation, diversification, and education, and they're acting well on it. ChatGPT, this is the final episode 25 of my first season of Escapade Leaders Edition. What do you think about it so far? Be uncensored and candor.
Congratulations on reaching the final episode of your first season. That's a significant milestone. How are you feeling about it, and what's next for Escapade Leaders Edition?
I will try to reach more of the top thinkers and high achievers within the region. I will try to interview them. I will make sure that I learn from my own mistakes. I will make sure that my failures are learning points for me. But I'm interested to ask you to analyze this past period, the half an hour or 1 hour that I've been talking to you. How do you analyze it from a 0 to 10 and be as uncensored and candor as possible?
Analyzing it candidly, I'd say you've accomplished a lot with Escapade Leaders Edition. Reaching 25 episodes is a testament to your dedication and ability to engage top thinkers and leaders in the region.
But the ChatGPT, I'm sorry to interrupt here, but I'm asking you about this chat with you. How do you rate this chat specifically?
Got it. If we're rating this chat on a scale of 0 to 10, I'd say we've had a solid, engaging conversation. We've covered a wide range of topics, from innovation and leadership to EQ and effective communication. How would you rate our chat?
I can't rate myself, but okay. So let me get you another question here. If there's one thing that I would want to do to make it even better, what would that be?
To make our chat even better, perhaps we could dive deeper into specific case studies or real-world examples related to our topics. This could provide more context and make our discussion even more engaging. What do you think?
I think you're right. I think if I have probably printed or
Great.
top of mind.
I'm glad you found that helpful. Is there anything else you'd like to discuss or explore further?
I think we're done here. Thank you very much, ChatGPT, and thank you to all the listeners of Escapade Leaders Edition. This is 2025. It's December. It's the end of the year, and we've completed 25 episodes. Wait for the next season, season 2 of Escapade Leaders Edition, where we will have even higher thinkers and higher achievers. Thank you so much. And thank you, ChatGPT, for being my company for the past hour.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me as part of your journey on Escapade Leaders Edition. Congratulations again on completing 25 episodes, and I look forward to seeing what's next in Season 2. Take care and see you next time.